Dear beloved chosen ones, there are moments that don't come with loud announcements or flashing lights, but they carry weight, spiritual weight, moments where your heart knows before your mind can name it. That's what this is. If you feel a quiet stirring in your spirit, a sense that something deep and eternal is calling you, then hear me clearly. You didn't arrive here by accident. You were drawn by divine orchestration, because when God chooses you, it's never random, and when He reveals you, it's never rushed. You are standing in the middle of a divine appointment, one that was written long before you ever knew to ask for it. As Jesus said in John 15:16, "You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last." This is not just a verse to memorize. It is a prophecy, one that's being fulfilled in you right now. For years, some of you have walked through silent seasons. You've been faithful behind the scenes. You've prayed prayers with no response. You've served others while wondering if your time would ever come. You've questioned if being hidden meant being forgotten. But the truth is, you were not forgotten. You were being prepared. God wasn't ignoring you. He was reserving you for something greater than instant visibility. He was protecting your purpose from premature exposure. What you carry is sacred. It's not designed for mass production. It's been formed in the quiet, in the pain, in the process. Some things are too holy to be released early. And now, as heaven begins to unveil what it's refined in you, it's not about noise, it's about impact. You're not stepping into this because you finally became good enough. You're stepping into this because you've awakened to the truth. You were chosen all along. What looked like rejection was redirection. What felt like delay was development. What you thought was silence was strategy. The isolation, the closed doors, the overlooked opportunities, they were all part of your divine preservation, because God was aligning your character with your calling, your discernment with your destiny. And now, your awareness is heaven's cue. It's time. You don't need to fight for a platform. You don't need to chase visibility. You don't need to strive for approval. You only need to walk in obedience. That's what this moment is about, a spiritual shift from trying to trusting. If something deep inside you is whispering, "This is for me," don't brush that off. Don't second-guess your intuition. That pull is divine. God is calling you forward, not for performance, but for purpose, not for applause, but for assignment. And now I invite you to respond. If your spirit is leaning in, if this word feels like a confirmation, then type 777 in the comments right now. Let that number be your yes, your public agreement with what God has been quietly working in you for years. It's not about superstition, it's about alignment. Heaven sees that response, and it matters. To those of you who have supported this space through your comments, your shares, your prayers, and especially through super thanks, I want to say a heartfelt thank you. Your generosity is seen, and your partnership means more than words can say. It helps continue this ministry and allows us to reach more hearts that are hungry for truth and transformation. And if you haven't donated, that's okay, truly. Your presence here is already powerful. Whether you gave or simply stayed through the message, I am grateful for you. You matter. You are part of this family. You are part of this move. So stay with me through the end of this video, because this isn't just about information, it's about impartation. At the close, we will seal everything in a powerful prayer, a moment of spiritual alignment, surrender, and activation. You won't just walk away encouraged, you'll walk away established. God is about to confirm what He whispered. This is not just another message, this is your moment. Let's begin. God's chosen ones. God's about to show the world why He chose you. There's a reason why everything didn't fall into place when you thought it should. A divine reason the doors stayed shut no matter how persistently you knocked or how loudly you prayed. You may have felt like heaven was silent, but what if it was strategic? This wasn't a punishment, and it wasn't neglect, it was precision. God wasn't stalling your progress, He was synchronizing your life with His higher timeline. You weren't late, you weren't left behind. You were being aligned with something far greater than you imagined. Have you ever considered that the waiting wasn't holding you back, it was holding you together? God's timeline doesn't bend to the pressure of earthly expectations. While the world rewards speed and instant results, heaven values depth and readiness. You may have watched others race ahead, achieve milestones, or stand in spotlights you thought were meant for you. But chosen one, your path was never about speed, it was about spiritual strength. Think about it. If God had opened those doors prematurely, would you have had the spiritual weight to stand firm inside them, or would the blessing have broken you? But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. Isaiah 40:1-1. Waiting isn't weakness, it's training. It's heaven saying not yet, because what's coming is too great to waste on the unready. Look at Joseph, betrayed, enslaved, falsely accused, and forgotten in a prison cell. Would you have lasted that long without bitterness? Yet his delay wasn't divine abandonment. It was God orchestrating a flawless setup, and when the time was right, everything shifted in a single day. Genesis 41:14-40. From prisoner to prime minister, from the pit to power. That's how heaven works, slowly, then suddenly. Could it be that your no season was really a not yet? Could it be that every detour was actually a shortcut in disguise, leading you away from danger and into destiny? Think also of Oprah Winfrey, fired from her first job as a news anchor, rejected, labeled unfit for television. But what the industry called failure, God used as a setup for her empire. She didn't need a fast path, she needed the right one. Or Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years imprisoned, years the world would call wasted, but God used to forge a leader who would walk his nation into freedom. Your delay has been developmental. Every quiet season, every hidden place was sacred ground for your spiritual roots to go deeper. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. God's vision never runs late, it just waits until you're ready. And chosen one, you're getting ready now. Not because the world validated you, not because your name is trending, but because you finally stopped running ahead of God and started walking in step with Him. David knew what it meant to be anointed, and then overlooked, crowned in secret, sent back to the sheep field while Saul reigned in public. Why? Because even though the oil had touched his head, his soul still needed formation. Can you handle that kind of anonymity? Can you trust that your calling is still real, even when no one claps for it yet? David waited years, facing lions, giants, and betrayals before the throne ever touched him. But when it did, he had the character to carry it. Let's not forget Malala Yousafzai. Before the world knew her name, before the Nobel Peace Prize, she was just a young girl in Pakistan, risking her life for the right to learn, shot in the head by extremists, but not silenced. Her preparation came through persecution, but it forged a voice strong enough to shake nations. So let me ask you, is your silence building your strength right now? Could your loneliness be carving out the sacred space where heaven whispers instructions no one else gets to hear? When things moved slowly in your life, it wasn't a glitch, it was grace. Because now you're walking differently. You don't seek applause, you seek alignment. You don't chase stages, you chase obedience. You've come to realize that what God is preparing for you isn't something you have to force open. He will place you quietly, perfectly, powerfully. The Lord will fight for you, you need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. You're not delayed, you're designed for something divine. Consider Steve Jobs, fired from Apple, the very company he co-founded. Public humiliation, global rejection, but in the wilderness of failure, he developed Pixar, revolutionized technology again, and returned to rebuild Apple better than ever. Sometimes you have to be removed from what you built so you can become who you were meant to be. Could that be what God is doing with you? This season, you're stepping into now, this subtle shift, this growing sense of readiness, this quiet boldness, it's not happening because God finally loves you more. It's happening because you've changed, not outwardly, but inwardly. Your roots are deep, your motives are pure, your discernment is sharp. You don't just want the blessing, you're ready to steward it. There is a sacred transformation that takes place in silence behind the scenes, where no applause is heard and no recognition is given. Chosen one, that's where you were shaped, not in front of crowds or cameras, but in those hidden spaces where you chose love over resentment, forgiveness over revenge, and consistency over comfort. Have you realized that it was in the quiet choices, the ones no one saw, that your spiritual foundation was laid? When you chose kindness even when it cost you, when you worshipped with a broken heart, when you forgave someone who didn't even apologize, heaven was watching, and heaven remembered. These weren't just emotional victories, they were eternal ones. They were the building blocks of maturity, the very ingredients God uses to prepare someone for true impact. As it says in James 1:4, "Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." God didn't let you go through that pain to glorify the struggle. He allowed it because He was forming something in you that success alone could never teach. Have you ever wondered why it had to be this hard? Why no shortcut appeared even when you prayed for one? It's because God was preparing you to hold what others can only visit. You see, spiritual growth often looks nothing like progress. It feels like doing the same thing again and again, the same job, the same quiet prayers, the same unnoticed sacrifices. But while your outer world remained the same, your inner world was expanding. And now as things begin to shift, you're not just entering a season of blessing, you're entering it with the capacity to hold, guard, and multiply what God is entrusting you with. Could it be that this entire time, heaven was more interested in preparing you than impressing others? Let's talk about Ruth, a woman with no title, no crowd, and no voice in the halls of power. Yet she stayed. She stayed loyal to Naomi when she could have returned to comfort. She chose the hard path with no guarantee of reward. And while she gleaned quietly in the fields, unnoticed by most, God was writing her into the lineage of Christ. Ruth didn't strive for a platform. She simply walked in obedience, and in doing so, she inherited legacy. Is it possible that your faithfulness, too, is unlocking a future bigger than you imagined? The same is true of people like Mother Teresa. For decades, she served the poorest of the poor in the slums of Calcutta without needing headlines or cameras. She didn't need to trend, she needed to love. And because of her obedience, the whole world saw what it means to be truly chosen. Or think of Harriet Tubman, who escaped slavery but didn't stop there. She returned again and again to rescue others, risking her life for people who couldn't repay her. Her calling was rooted not in recognition, but in righteousness. Your journey is echoing theirs, built on choices made in secret, sacrifices few understand. You are walking in the kind of maturity that heaven celebrates. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being consistent. It's not about being loud, it's about being present. The spiritual power you now carry didn't come from charisma, it came from obedience when no one was watching. That's what makes you unshakable. That's why people are drawn to you now, not because you've changed your look, but because you carry something they can't explain. A peace, a weight, a presence. As Scripture reminds us in Ephesians 2:19, you are no longer foreigners and strangers, but fellow citizens with God's people and also members of His household. You don't have to beg for belonging. You are already seated in the place God prepared for you. You've been tested, not just to prove something, but to become something. You've been forged in the fire, not just to shine, but to endure. And now you carry oil, the kind that doesn't come from performance, but from pressing. You've been crushed and yet not broken. You've been isolated and yet not abandoned. That is what has made you holy. Look at the life of Nelson Mandela. After years of imprisonment, he emerged not bitter, but better. Not seeking revenge, but restoration. The long years of silence had transformed him into a vessel fit for peace. Could your hidden years be doing the same? Or take Maya Angelou, her early life scarred by trauma, silence and rejection. Yet it was that very silence that trained her ear to truth, her heart to compassion, and her voice to power that the world would never forget. Isn't it astonishing how many world changers were first silenced before they ever spoke? You don't need to kick doors open anymore. You are the door. You carry the frequency of someone who's been with God. When you walk into a room now, the atmosphere shifts. Not because you're trying, but because you're tuned. People can sense when someone is anchored in something deeper than ego. You've become that anchor. Your strength is not in the way you fight, but in the way you stand. You've learned how to carry peace, how to speak only when the Spirit leads, and how to keep silent when your flesh wants to scream. You're no longer proving yourself. You're being yourself, your real, chosen, Spirit-forged self. This is why heaven is moving now, not because your prayers finally persuaded God, but because your spirit is now ready to steward what he has long planned to release. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. God's delight in you didn't begin today, but your readiness did. And now the right people, the right doors, and the right moments will recognize you, not because of the noise you make, but because of the oil you carry, not because of your title, but because of your testimony. You've been faithful with little, now prepare for much. There comes a sacred turning point in your life, when you no longer feel the urge to explain, defend, or prove yourself to anyone. And chosen one, that moment has arrived for you. You've spent enough seasons trying to clarify your intentions, justify your decisions, and articulate the calling burning quietly within your soul. But now, your life speaks louder than any argument ever could. Your consistency has become your confirmation, your peace has become your posture, and your very presence is proof. Can you feel the shift? You don't walk into rooms hoping to be acknowledged anymore. You walk in knowing you've already been assigned by heaven. And when God sends you, recognition is no longer your burden. Revelation becomes his responsibility. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. Isaiah 61. This is not simply poetic, it's prophetic. It's not a suggestion, it's a command. Stand in what God placed on you, not in your own spotlight, but in the undeniable radiance of his glory, now resting on your life. You no longer need a microphone or a title to prove your purpose. You are the evidence. The grace you carry, the weight in your words, the calm in your spirit, these speak volumes. Have you noticed how people are suddenly listening more closely, asking different questions, watching you with a different kind of reverence? It's because your light no longer flickers, it burns with conviction. There was a time when you were misunderstood, misjudged, maybe even mocked, and you bore it all in silence. But those were not wasted seasons. They were layers of grace, patience, and character forming in the unseen. Like Hannah, who poured out her prayers year after year while being misunderstood by the very priest meant to bless her, 1 Samuel 1. She didn't argue. She didn't explain herself to the world. She poured herself out before God, and when the moment of fulfillment came, she didn't return to correct her critics. She came back carrying the very evidence of answered prayer. That's exactly what's happening to you now. You're not coming back with explanations. You're coming back with evidence. You're walking into rooms not because you chased opportunities, but because you've been carried by grace. And that grace is tangible. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It settles things. It shifts things. It announces you without a word. That's what happens when God promotes you. It's not noisy. It's undeniable. Your calling no longer wears a costume. It has become your character. Your influence doesn't come from striving. It flows from the oil that was formed in the crushing. Could it be that all your hidden obedience was never ignored, just stored for release in a moment like this? Look at Joseph. Betrayed, imprisoned, forgotten. Yet when the divine appointment arrived, he wasn't just remembered, he was needed. His brothers bowed. Not because he sought revenge, but because his fruit had become undeniable. As Jesus said, "By their fruit you will recognize them." Matthew 7:16. You don't need to justify what has been cultivated in secret. Those who are meant to see you will, and those who were never meant to, were never part of your assignment in the first place. Hannah's arms carried Samuel. Joseph wore Pharaoh's ring. Now you're wearing authority in your spirit, not because you climbed a ladder, but because you grew roots. Think of Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, whose soft-spoken presence shaped generations. He didn't perform, he planted, he carried peace, he moved with purpose. His legacy wasn't built on volume, it was built on virtue. Are you beginning to see how heaven trusts quiet carriers? You were never meant to compete with noise. You were born to shift the atmosphere. And now that you've embraced your stillness, God is using it as a sword. This is what it means to be sent. Because when heaven sends you, hell cannot stop you. You no longer need affirmation to act, because the one who called you has already appointed you. And when you are sent, your strength doesn't need to be proven, it's felt. In quietness and trust is your strength. Isaiah 30:15. Let that settle in your spirit. Your calm is not weakness, it's warfare. This is the strength God honors. the kind that holds steady when storms rage, the kind that doesn't panic in silence, the kind that doesn't perform for people's approval. This is the kind of authority that doesn't roar, it radiates. Maybe you've become the one others now watch, not because you're trying to be impressive, but because your very existence testifies that peace is possible. Isn't that a testimony in itself? When everything in life told you to break, but you stayed whole. Think of Nelson Mandela, locked in a cell for 27 years, not emerging bitter but better, leading with grace, not revenge. Or Corrie ten Boom, who survived a Nazi concentration camp and went on to preach forgiveness. These were people whose stillness preached. Could it be your silence has been saying more than your words ever could? Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. John 14:27. That peace you carry now, it didn't come cheap. It came through fire, through betrayal, through endurance. And yet it remains. Not the absence of storms, but calm in the storm. You're no longer reactive, you're rooted, and people feel it. They pause around you. They trust your presence, even if they don't fully understand why. This peace can't be faked. It can't be borrowed. It is birthed in the dark, in the lonely, in the misunderstood. Think of the quiet strength of grandparents who never sought applause, yet shaped legacies with their steady presence. Of single parents who quietly sacrifice everything without asking for thanks. These are not ordinary people. They are spiritual pillars, like trees planted by water. They bear fruit in season. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Psalm 1:3. That's you now, not easily shaken, not thirsty for attention, just steadily bearing witness. So if you've been the quiet one, the overlooked one, the too gentle one, rejoice. You're exactly the kind of vessel God can trust. And now that the fruit of your faith is ripe, God is making it visible, not to stroke your ego, but to fulfill His word. What you're seeing unfold around you, the favor, the connections, the clarity, the increase, this isn't luck. It's prophecy, it's fulfillment, it's heaven's yes, finally echoing on earth. Faithful is He that calleth you, who also will do it. 1 Thessalonians 5:24. You don't need to raise your voice. You are the message. You don't need to prove your calling. You've become the evidence. Let the world spin. Let the noise roar. You just keep walking with that quiet, unshakable authority. The kind that only comes from being sent. The kind the world doesn't always understand, but heaven fully endorses. God does not speak empty promises into the void. When He speaks, creation responds. When He declares a future for you, He's not simply painting a hopeful picture. He's speaking destiny into motion. Chosen one, you must understand this. He did not plant those dreams in your heart to tease you. He spoke them with the full intent of fulfillment. Not because of your striving, not because you earned it through burnout or begging, but because He is faithful to complete what He began in you. Do you feel the shift? What's unfolding in your life now isn't the product of panic or pressure, it's the result of precision. This isn't about hustle, this is heaven's harvest, finally meeting the maturity of your soul. You've been in alignment even when it didn't feel like movement. The reason you're stepping into this season with peace instead of exhaustion is because God timed this moment with surgical accuracy. The seed has matured. The soil of your heart has been prepared. You've been cultivated in the dark, and now the light isn't just shining on your promise, it's shining through you. Have you noticed how the doors that once resisted you are now opening effortlessly? That's not a fluke. That's fulfillment. Think of Sarah, barren for decades, carrying silent disappointment while watching others step into joy. When the promise of a child came to her, she laughed, not from joy but from disbelief. She thought it was too late, that she was too old, that the window had closed. But God doesn't operate by human timelines. Now the Lord was gracious to Sarah, as He had said, and the Lord did for Sarah what He had promised. Genesis 21 sowed. What man called impossible, God called on time. She didn't have to force it. She didn't have to manipulate the outcome. She simply had to trust the promise and let heaven handle the delivery. That same grace is on your life now. For years you've watched others bloom. Others were celebrated, promoted, elevated, and you remained in the background wondering when it would be your turn. But what you didn't see was how uniquely timed your breakthrough had to be. You weren't forgotten, you were fermenting, being prepared for a kind of glory that couldn't be microwaved. Some miracles take longer because they carry more weight, and now, as things begin to manifest, you might feel almost stunned by the ease of it. But this isn't luck, it's a collision of promise and preparation, of faith and fulfillment. It's exactly what happened to Tyler Perry. He struggled for years, homeless, rejected, unseen, yet he kept writing plays that no one attended. He was planting seeds faithfully with no spotlight. But when the appointed time came, everything shifted at once, and now his obedience echoes far beyond his voice. Or consider Sarah Jakes Roberts, carrying shame from a teenage pregnancy, only to rise into one of the most influential spiritual voices of our time. What looked like delay was really divine development. Could it be the same is true for you? Because here's the truth. You didn't earn this. You aligned with it. God didn't require you to perform for the promise. He only asked you to trust Him with your process. All the times you kept walking even when you felt alone. All the moments you surrendered instead of striving. That's what positioned you. That's why things are falling into place now without pressure. Because heaven has decided it's time. You don't need to chase rooms anymore. You are the room. You don't need to knock on doors that couldn't hold the weight of your calling. Because now, the right doors, the ones built for your spirit, not your ego, are opening by divine instruction. You're getting calls you stopped waiting for. You're entering spaces you didn't apply to. Why? Because God doesn't just fulfill promises. He announces them when the fruit is ready to be picked. The Lord will fulfill His purpose for me. Your steadfast love, O Lord, endures forever. Psalm 138. And, chosen one, that purpose is unfolding now. Think about Viola Davis, turned down repeatedly for roles, told she didn't fit the mold, yet she persisted. Her talent wasn't new. The world just wasn't ready. And when it finally was, no one could deny the oil she carried. She didn't arrive desperate. She arrived prepared. That's what makes this season different for you. You're not stumbling into your blessing. You're stepping into it. With clarity, with confidence, with peace that doesn't shout but speaks volumes. This is the season of seeing, of standing in rooms you used to only imagine, of looking around and realizing that what once felt distant is now your daily. And here's the best part. It's not overwhelming. It's not confusing. It's peaceful. Because God didn't just prepare the promise. He prepared you. Do you feel it? That quiet boldness in your chest, that clarity in your decisions, that joy that doesn't need validation. That's the sign. You didn't just wait for this, you grew into it. Faithful is He that calleth you, who also will do it. 1 Thessalonians 5:24. So the next time someone says you're lucky, just smile, because luck didn't carry you here. Obedience did. This isn't a random open door. It's a response to every private yes you gave God when no one was watching. And now that the fruit is visible, it's not about being impressive. It's about being authentic. You're not shrinking anymore to fit into spaces that were too small for your destiny. You're not begging for invitations. You are the invitation. You're not asking permission to be who God called you to be. You're walking in it. And the best part? You're doing it without needing to prove anything. Because the old you needed applause, the healed you walks with authority. The waiting season didn't weaken you, it readied you. This isn't just a good season, this is a God season, and nothing can interrupt what heaven has already declared fulfilled. You're not being welcomed into new spaces by accident, you're being recognized by alignment. There's no random luck in what's unfolding right now. This is divine orchestration. God didn't just allow you to be seen, He planned for it. As Proverbs 18:16 says, a man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great men. It doesn't say your hustle will do it. It doesn't say your networking or trying to prove yourself will make it happen. It says your gift, that divine deposit God placed in you, developed and refined in the unseen places, will do the work. And it doesn't just open any door, it ushers you into rooms where influence flows, where decisions are made, where legacy is written. Do you understand the weight of that? That what God has placed inside of you is powerful enough to shift not just moments but environments. There is something sacred about being sent instead of scrambling, something holy about walking in calm assurance rather than insecure striving. You used to ask, "Do I belong here?" But now you know, not because of pride, but because of peace. You're not asking for permission to be here anymore. You're moving like the evidence. The quiet, bold proof that when you remain faithful in the dark, God rewards you in the light. Can you feel that confidence rising? Not arrogance, not ego, but assurance rooted in the knowledge that you didn't climb your way here by force. You grew into this moment, and now it's finding you. Think of Daniel, taken from everything familiar, placed in a foreign culture, surrounded by people who didn't worship his God, and yet he rose. Why? Not because he lobbied for position, not because he sought approval, but because his integrity made space for him. His excellence stood out. His devotion never wavered, even when threatened with death. Daniel didn't need to convince anyone of his worth. His life testified for him, and when the lion's den came, it only made his testimony stronger. Daniel 6 is not just a story of survival, it's a blueprint for divine promotion through inner strength. So let me ask you, what lions have you faced silently? What pressures have you endured without platform, without applause? What's happening in your life now is not a coincidence. It's your seed speaking. All those quiet years of discipline, of integrity, of showing up when it felt pointless, that's what's bearing fruit. You're not in this room because you pushed your way in. You were called in. In the past, you bent yourself to fit expectations. You dimmed your light so others wouldn't feel small. You over-explained who you were just to be tolerated. But now you abide. You don't need to prove anymore. You simply are. That's spiritual maturity, when your presence carries more weight than your pitch. Think of Viola Davis. For years, she was offered stereotypical roles, overlooked for lead characters. But she didn't force her way into Hollywood's elite. She let her craft and conviction do the talking. Eventually, the right roles found her. Her presence commands attention now, not because she chased fame, but because she became someone undeniable. The same is happening for you. You're not walking in with a resume. You're walking in with identity. You don't need validation. You carry confirmation. Because the things you used to chase, they're now chasing you. And it's not because the industry or world changed, it's because you did. People are starting to see it. The light that cannot be faked. The grace that follows you. The stillness that shifts the atmosphere when you speak, or even when you don't. That's not a product of performance. It's the residue of your becoming. And when you become what heaven designed, you don't have to search for your place. The place searches for you. For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. Ephesians 2:10. This was always prepared. This moment was waiting for you to be ready. And now that you are, it's not about arriving loudly, it's about arriving fully grounded, fully clear, fully faithful. You're not just talented anymore, you're trustworthy. You're not just anointed, you're anchored. And because of that, God is not just opening doors, He's securing your foundation. This isn't just a season of elevation, it's a season of establishment. Can you see the difference? Elevation can be temporary, elevation can be showy, but establishment, that's permanent, that's planted. And God doesn't just want to lift you, He wants to root you so what He builds through you will last. Think about Tabitha Brown, faithful for years behind the scenes, cooking, loving, speaking with joy when few listened. And then, seemingly overnight, she went viral. But her sudden rise wasn't random. It was the reveal of years spent sowing in quiet. Her kindness, her consistency, her refusal to break character, that's what made her light impossible to ignore. Are you starting to realize that the same quiet consistency in your life has been preparing you for a moment like this? This is not hype, it's wholeness. You're not showing up fragmented, trying to piece together a version of yourself the world will accept. You're showing up healed. And when God both lifts you and grounds you, you don't just visit the mountaintop, you build from it. So walk in, not to impress, not to explain, just to be. Because this moment doesn't require your noise, it requires your presence. And you, chosen one, are more than ready. You're not being elevated because you impressed the right audience. You're being positioned because you endured the right process. What's unfolding in your life now isn't the result of performance or persuasion, it's the fruit of perseverance. God doesn't build quick towers of success that crumble under pressure. He builds foundations that last through generations. That's why it took time. That's why it felt slow. Because he wasn't just preparing the blessing, he was preparing you to carry it without collapsing. After you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace will himself restore you and make you strong, firm, and steadfast. This verse is not just poetic comfort, it's a divine contract. God is not simply returning what was lost, he's rebuilding you with strength that wasn't there before. Have you paused to ask yourself, why didn't that trial destroy you? Why didn't that betrayal break your spirit? It's because God wasn't letting you fall apart, he was fortifying you from the inside out. For many of you, this season has been brutal. Silent battles, secret tears, prolonged questions. You've wondered if you were forgotten, questioned whether the promise had expired, even doubted your own worth. But you kept walking. You didn't give up, and that was the victory heaven needed. You've been molded in moments no one else applauded, formed in fire without fanfare. What others called delay, God called design. He used the storm not to destroy, but to construct. He replaced your anxiety with endurance. He swapped out your need to rush with the strength to remain. Remember Jacob, the father of Joseph. He spent decades carrying the weight of grief, believing his son was dead, living with the ache of unanswered questions. And then in Genesis 46:30, he's reunited with Joseph, not just alive but ruling in Egypt. Jacob's words were simple but powerful. Now I am ready to die, since I have seen for myself that you are still alive. That was more than a reunion. It was closure, a chapter rewritten, a broken heart restored. Have you considered that God is about to give you the kind of closure that brings peace deeper than any explanation ever could? This chapter of your life is about more than blessing, it's about wholeness. God is not just opening new doors, he's settling you into stability. You won't need to strive to keep what's coming. You won't fear losing it. You won't scramble for approval or panic at every shift. Because what heaven establishes, hell cannot uproot. You've been trained in tension. You've learned to stand in silence. You've matured in the fire. And now you're not just stepping into new territory. You're walking into it with the calm of someone who knows they belong. Look at someone like Howard Schultz, the former CEO of Starbucks. He grew up in public housing. No privilege, no path paved for him, but he endured. He rose not because of entitlement, but because of resilience. He understood what it meant to hold steady under pressure. And as he built his company, it wasn't charisma that sustained it. It was character. That's what God has been forming in you. Do you see it now? That what you carry has weight, and that weight came from staying faithful when you could have walked away. This is no longer about surviving. It's about holding steady. You're not rising just to gain attention. You're rising because your roots are now deep enough to carry responsibility. The kind of responsibility that blesses not only you but those around you. That's the difference between influence and authority. Influence may come from your gifts, but authority only comes from the process. And because you didn't skip the process, now your presence speaks even when your mouth doesn't. Your actions ripple. Your decisions carry wisdom. Your life shifts the atmosphere. People notice the change. They may not have the words for it, but they feel it. They'll say you've changed, but what they're sensing is stability. You're not rushing anymore. You're not afraid of missing out. You're not reactive, you're rooted. And when you're rooted in purpose, you don't need to climb to be noticed. You grow, and the world will see. You're not built on trends. You're built on truth. You're not propped up by applause. You're planted by alignment. And that's why, this time it's different. Think of Bethany Hamilton, the surfer who lost her arm to a shark attack. The world expected her to quit. Instead, she healed. She returned to the waves, not just surviving, but thriving. Her strength didn't come from applause, it came from process. And like you, her comeback wasn't loud, it was anchored. She wasn't just restored, she was refined. So when the next opportunity comes, when the next door swings open, don't just see it as a reward, see it as a recognition. Heaven isn't just giving you favor, it's confirming your foundation. You've been planted, not propped. And because of that, What's being built on your life won't collapse. This time, you're not grasping for something fragile, you're stepping into something solid. This isn't hype, this is healing. This isn't a rush to rise, this is a right to remain. You're not here just to go higher, you're here to go deeper. That's why you're no longer shaken by applause or by silence, because your confidence isn't circumstantial anymore, it's spiritual. This is what it means to be established, to no longer need to prove yourself, to no longer walk on eggshells, to no longer wonder if it's all going to fall apart. Because now, finally, you know who you are, and you know who sent you. This isn't just your season, this is your settling. So breathe, walk in quietly, and take your place. Because heaven's not just giving you a platform, it's giving you permanence. And that echo you feel in your spirit, that's not emotion, that's confirmation. Heaven is whispering to your soul, you're ready, you're steady, and now it begins. This journey, every word, every pause, every stirring in your spirit, wasn't about hype, it was about alignment, about anchoring you back into the truth that everything you've endured wasn't random or wasted. It was preparation, divine and intentional. You weren't just surviving trials for the sake of proving your toughness. You were being shaped, formed, entrusted, not just to withstand storms, but to rise from them steady, wise and deeply rooted. Can you feel now what it was all leading toward? God wasn't just interested in what you could carry when everyone was watching. He was watching how you carried truth when no one else saw. Have you realized how those hidden sacrifices weren't just tests of your passion, but proof of your readiness? Each surrendered dream, each whispered prayer through gritted teeth, each moment you wanted to walk away but chose to stay, heaven was taking notes. You weren't being delayed, you were being defined. And now, as the unveiling begins, don't be surprised when others finally start to notice what's always been inside you. Don't be shocked when doors open without effort, when peace walks into the room before you speak, when conversations shift, not because of your volume, but because of your vibration. This is what it looks like when your soul is moving in rhythm with God's will. This is not the time to shrink, this is the moment to stand, not with pride, but with quiet, holy certainty. And now this message moves from encouragement to invitation, because this isn't just a beautiful word for your heart, it's a divine summons to live differently. If you're ready to carry what God is pouring into your life, it means embracing this next season, not as a prize, but as a stewardship, not as a stage to perform, but as an altar to serve. You are not trying to arrive anymore, you've already been sent. The question now is, will you walk like you believe you're chosen? That doesn't require applause or performance, it requires quiet obedience. Start where you are, honor your current space. If you're working a job that feels beneath your gift, elevate it with your excellence. If you're parenting behind the scenes, raise with intention, speak with gentleness, pray without ceasing. If you're caregiving, grieving or healing, do it with the sacred awareness that God is watching and He is pleased. These are not small acts. These are the flames that light the legacy. Then protect your spiritual atmosphere. You are no longer in the proving season. You've entered the preserving season. Preserve the oil. What does that mean for you? It means being ruthless about your peace. Guard your inputs. People, content, conversations. Not everything deserves your attention anymore. What you feed your soul now either strengthens your clarity or pollutes your discernment. In this season, silence is strategy. Begin your mornings in stillness. Even 5 minutes of undistracted surrender can shift your whole day. Whisper to God, what are you doing today, and how can I move with you? That is how you keep your frequency in sync with heaven. Let's not forget to walk in relational discernment. Just because someone claps doesn't mean they're called to walk with you. In this new visibility, you will attract voices, but don't confuse applause for alignment. Surround yourself with those who challenge your soul, not just flatter your ego. People who don't remind you of your past but reinforce your future. Can you tell the difference yet? The ones meant for this next chapter won't compete with your growth, they'll celebrate it. And if some connections need to end, release them not in bitterness but in blessing. Consider the story of Nehemiah, building a wall amidst distraction, slander and sabotage. His strength wasn't in confrontation, it was in focus. He simply said, "I am doing a great work and cannot come down." That must be your posture now. You are doing a great work in your home, your healing, your daily obedience, and you cannot come down. Don't leave the wall God has assigned to you for the sake of explaining yourself to people who were never assigned to build with you. And most of all, keep your eyes on legacy. You're not walking just for yourself. Your obedience is unlocking doors for those who will come after you. There are people who may never hear a sermon, but they're watching how you love, how you endure, how you lead without boasting, and serve without needing a stage. And through you, they'll find God again, not through your perfection, but through your perseverance. Think of Rosa Parks, a woman who didn't shout, but who shifted history through one quiet act of defiance. Or Mr. Rogers, who didn't dominate culture but reshaped it by consistently embodying peace, dignity, and gentleness. These weren't loud figures, they were anchored ones, just like you're becoming. Their legacy wasn't born from crowds, it was birthed in conviction. This is your time to step into that same rhythm. Let this word become your daily practice. Let it change how you show up to your workplace. Let it shape how you navigate conflict. Let it soften how you forgive and strengthen how you stand. You are no longer chasing purpose. You are purpose in motion. You don't need a new title to begin. You need a renewed awareness of who you already are. And as you carry this revelation into your next assignment, remember, God didn't choose you to impress a generation. He chose you to impact one. So carry this mantle with humility. Walk in rooms with quiet confidence. Protect your peace. Honor your process. And most of all, never forget that this isn't the finish line, it's the beginning of legacy. If you've reached this moment, then you already understand. This wasn't just a message to hear, it was a divine revelation to embody, a confirmation to carry into every step forward. And now we don't just conclude, we consecrate, we seal it in prayer. Not a hurried whisper, not a fleeting emotion, but a deep, steady, prophetic exchange between your spirit and the one who authored your purpose, refined your process, and is now positioning your promise. Wherever you are, pause, close your eyes if you can, still your body, and open your spirit. Let this be a sacred alignment. Let heaven meet you here. Father in heaven, we enter this moment with reverence, not distracted, not passive, but fully aware that this is holy ground. Thank you, Sovereign God, for being the master of alignment, for designing divine appointments long before we had language to pray for them, for seeing us when we couldn't even see ourselves, and for choosing us, not because of our perfection, but because of your great purpose. We come into agreement now with your timing, your wisdom, and your hand. We thank you for the wilderness that matured us, for the still seasons that silenced our striving, and for the quiet obedience that taught us to trust without a spotlight. Thank you for not rushing what you were rooting, for protecting what you were preparing, for speaking when we thought you were silent, and for building in us the kind of strength that doesn't shake when the winds of change begin to blow. Lord, we declare, we are not behind. We were never behind. We were being aligned, not moved by pressure, but positioned by your purpose. And now we are ready, not because we feel worthy, but because we know you are faithful, as you spoke in Habakkuk 2:3. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. We hold that promise in our spirit now, not as a distant hope, but as a present confirmation. We lift up every weary heart carrying the weight of delay. Let a divine shift be felt right now, not just in the external, but in the soul. May our inner rhythm catch up with heaven's pace. May the chaos of doubt dissolve, and the frequency of your voice rise above every lie. This isn't coincidence. This is calling. This isn't emotion. This is evidence. Father, thank you for growth, for spiritual maturity, for the refining fire that didn't consume us. It completed us. We are not the same, and we don't need validation to prove it. We walk as those who have been sent. As written in Isaiah 61, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." Let that glory be evident, not in our volume, but in our weight, not in our noise, but in our presence. We surrender every need to be understood, every urge to explain, every craving to impress. We declare, our lives are the sermon, our endurance is the testimony, our peace in the storm is the evidence. Like Hannah, we return not with explanations, but with manifestation, not with words, but with what we carry. Thank you, God, for making peace our power, for showing us that stillness is not passivity, it is strategy, it is authority. As Isaiah 30:15 says, "In quietness and trust is your strength." Let that quiet strength be our signature. Let it speak in rooms our voice never reaches. Let it settle every space we step into. Let it remind every spirit we encounter, this one has been with God. And now, Lord, for every heart that has whispered, "Am I too late?" erase the lie. Replace it with your truth. You are never late, and neither are we. Your promise is not failing, it is forming, and as declared in 1 Thessalonians 5:24, he who calls you is faithful, he will surely do it. We don't have to force what you've already fulfilled, we just have to receive it. So we ask boldly, not for speed but for substance, not for applause but for anointing. Let what comes next not just be a blessing, let it be a confirmation. Let it not distract but declare, not reward but responsibility. Give us what lasts, what carries weight, what cannot be shaken because it was forged in you. Lord, establish us now, root us deep as you raise us high. Let our elevation come with endurance. Let our expansion come with wisdom. Let every new door be one we are graced to walk through, and let every platform be one where integrity can stand tall. Seal every space we occupy, homes, businesses, ministries, conversations, with clarity, with calm, with conviction. We reject the spirit of sabotage. We cancel the assignment of delay. We declare protection over this next chapter. We speak divine focus where there's been fear, calling where there's been confusion, fresh oil where there's been exhaustion. You're not just taking us higher, Lord, you're planting us deeper. We place every step, every vision, every assignment under the covering of the blood of Jesus. Seal it, guard it, grow it. Let us walk humbly, speak wisely, and carry boldly, not for applause but for impact. Let our lives become altars, let our words be seeds, let our presence be evidence that you dwell within us. And now we say yes again. Yes to your timing, yes to your way, yes to the narrow path, yes to the mantle, even when it's heavy, even when it's lonely, because we don't just want to be chosen, we want to be trusted. Seal this prayer not only in memory, but in movement. Let this not fade with feeling, let it birth fruit, visible, lasting, eternal fruit. We love you, we trust you, we yield to you. In the unshakable, unstoppable, matchless name of Jesus Christ, Amen. If you prayed that prayer with me, I truly believe something sacred just shifted, not only in the atmosphere surrounding your life, but deep within your spirit. This wasn't just a moment of emotional inspiration, this was divine alignment, a spiritual anchoring. You are walking away from this moment, not as someone hoping to be seen, but as someone who finally sees themselves through the eyes of God. Not as someone waiting to be chosen, but as someone fully aware that you were already sent. What changed today wasn't your environment, it was your awareness. Something powerful awakened inside of you, and because of that, you will carry your calling differently from this moment forward. Not louder, but deeper. Not striving for position, but resting in purpose. Not chasing validation, but embodying the authority already placed on your life. You're not just inspired, you've been recentered. You're not stepping into a new chapter, you are the chapter. You are now walking with the kind of clarity that doesn't depend on external signs. Because when God speaks and you respond, transformation doesn't wait, it activates. And chosen one, that activation has begun in you. So walk differently now. Speak with peace. Move with quiet confidence. Show up like someone who knows heaven is backing every step. From the depths of my heart, thank you for staying with me through this entire message and this prayer. Whether you watched it all in one sitting or returned to it in pieces over time, your presence here is sacred. I don't take it lightly that you gave this word your time, your attention, and your heart. Your hunger for truth, your openness to spiritual growth, and your willingness to lean in, all of that matters, and I see it. Heaven sees it, and it's not going unnoticed. If this message stirred something in you, if it confirmed something you've been quietly carrying, or gave voice to a season you didn't know how to name, and you feel led to sow into this space, you can do so through the Super Thanks feature right here on this video. Your support helps sustain the creation of content like this, bold, prophetic, spirit-led messages meant to awaken the chosen and align the called. But let me say this with full sincerity, whether you give or not, I am deeply grateful for you. Your generosity is never measured in money alone. Just your presence, your engagement, your amen in the comments, that means more than you realize. You are valued here, not because of what you give, but because of who you are. You belong here, you matter, you are part of what God is doing. So let me speak a blessing over you as you carry this word forward. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May His face shine upon you and give you peace. May He surround your home with calm, your heart with confidence, and your path with clarity. May doors open that no man can shut. May you walk into rooms that were waiting for your arrival. And may you never forget, you were not overlooked, you were handpicked. And the one who began this good work in you is not finished. He's just getting started. This isn't the end of the conversation. It's the beginning of a new chapter. I'm honored to walk this journey with you. I look forward to seeing your comments, your testimonies, and your stories unfold. And I truly can't wait to meet you again in the next message. Until then, chosen one, stay grounded in truth, stay obedient to your call, and most of all, stay blessed beyond measure. The best is not behind you, it's about to be revealed through you.